Hey guys, this is Joel from the Fincastle Pokemon Gym. I'm beginning to think that my approach to Pokemon at the moment is that if you make a really cool looking card, I'm going to play it. This beautiful Garchomp EX from Paradox Rift is yet another card that I think the meta elves are just not looking at. Garchomp EX can be the centerpiece of a whole slew of decks, and for that matter I could probably make multiple videos about decks centered around him. But what I'm going to do is give you some lists that I've been playing with, which can easily be modified to your tastes. Looking at the card itself, in case you're not familiar, Garchomp EX is a Water Terra type, 320 HP, free retreat, and it features 2 attacks, Hydro Lander, that for 1 energy does 160 damage, and attaches 3 basic fighting energies from your discard pile to your benched Pokemon in any way you want. And that's probably some of the best energy acceleration I've seen in a long time. It also has the sniping attack Sonic Dive, which can be useful at times because it can hit 120 anywhere, but with Manaphy still in play that is often blocked, but it can be useful. The Water Terra type is what makes this so playable, and that's because of the supporter Irida. Irida lets you get a water Pokemon and an item card, so you can grab Garchomp and Rare Candy and have an easy second turn Garchomp, just like in the Chien-Pao Baxcalibur list. And like I said, Hydro Lander makes any fighting Pokemon playable. There aren't a lot of Vs that fit into that category unless you want to include the V-Stars, which I have not done. But any of the big basic EXs like Great Tusk, or Tinglu, or Iron Boulder are plug and plays into the Garchomp list. And a very interesting recent suggestion from Logan is Raging Bolt. I have not messed with that. Not tried it out yet in any testing, but that is next on my list because that sounds very interesting. The first list we're just going to look at briefly is the Pidgeot EX version. It's very similar to Charizard EX builds, but what it had that those did not was the ability to spam the use of Cheryl. Cheryl is now rotated, but basically it healed all damage from all of your evolution Pokemon. I played 2 and a Palpad, essentially making it where if you could not one-hit Garchomp, or Pidgeot for that matter, you just could not take prizes against this deck. It's probably very frustrating to play against. Post-rotation, I added Groudon and replaced Cheryl with Professor Turo, so that you can erase damage from a Garchomp, which is still good, but not as effective as Cheryl, because he does make you pick up Garchomp and you have to re-evolve him. You can see that there is still Palpad, so you can do this twice in a game. This is my most recent version of that deck. It's very consistent, and you can make some very cool plays for sure. But let's move on and look at the 2 that I play more frequently. Deck number 2 features the base set Koraidon EX, which has been abandoned by the meta completely. I think it has great synergy here, because as long as you can discard at least 1 energy on your opening turn, you can end your turn with his Dino Cry ability and have him ready to attack for 220 on turn 2. If you don't get him out early, he's a solid target for Hydro Lander to attach energies to. And that's the strategy of my Garchomp list, which is just making your opponent choose between multiple threats. Everything here can either one-hit something or set up easy 2 hits. You can see I've still got a Groudon, which can hit for 240. Having these 2 solid fighting type attackers provides counters for anything lightning, which is Garchomp's weakness. There's not much on this list that should require too much explanation. There's B-Barrel and Radiant Greninja for plenty of draw support. There's a nice mix of items and Artisan to get out everything quickly. And as you can see, Professor Turo is still there to erase damage or just get something out of play. I'm going to show you a few highlights just to demonstrate what I was talking about. I go first here, starting with Koraidon, which is hard to donk. Get a pretty standard setup, get Radiant Greninja in play. I use it to discard an energy. I'm going to attach an energy from my hand, and then I'll use Dino Cry to reattach that energy, leaving me ready to hit for 220 on turn 2. I get Ionoed on their turn into a better hand than what I had. When I play Irida, I'm not going to get Candy. I'm going to get Ultra Ball so I can get my B-Barrel in play. And that's the luxury of being ready to attack with Koraidon. So first I'm going to discard the Nest Ball and the Gibble, get that B-Barrel. And go ahead and attach to the Koraidon, get my Artisan in play. I'm going to evolve into Gabite. Use Artisan to get another Gibble in play. Then I can refill my hand here with B-Barrel. And hopefully this will leave me in a position where I can get 2 Garchomps on my next turn. And as of now, looks like that's very possible. So I'll hit for a 220 and take the first knockout. They do the Lost Zone thing and then just hit me with the Cramorant for 110. I'm going to go ahead and Rare Candy and evolve to Garchomp. Attached to that Garchomp. Then I'm going to use Boss and go ahead and get one of these Giratina active so I can damage it. I can get it later even if I have to snipe it. I'm going to retreat Koraidon because he can't attack this turn. I'm going to use Artisan. And I'm going to get a Groudon in play. Then I'm going to attack with Garchomp and charge the Groudon. They do more Lost Zone stuff and hit me with Cramorant again. Comes back to me, I attach to the active Garchomp. Then I'm going to evolve to my second Garchomp. Going to use Radiant Greninja to draw. Now I'm also not going to use Iono here because it looks like they're really stuck with a bad hand. So then I use Sonic Dive to finish off that Giratina on the bench. And from my prizes I get the all-important Prime Catcher. They get energy on the Giratina but miss finding the V-Star, so they hit me with Cramorant again. I catch that Giratina. I'm going to Super Rod a couple of energies and a Gibble back in. Then I'm going to use Iono, shuffle in, see if I can get the energy I need in my hand. If not, I can get it with B-Barrel, but I do get it off of the shuffle. Attached to Groudon, I'll refill my hand. And then I'm going to hit with Groudon for 240 and knock out basically the only threat they really have left. It does take all 4 energies, but that's not a problem because Garchomp can just reattach them. And following that knockout, I think they come up with Sableye, but then they attack and then just concede. Here's a quick look again at this list so that you can see that it's not a huge leap to get to this one. And I saved what I think is the best for last. The most obvious change is from the base set Koraidon EX to the Temporal Forces Dragon type EX. And this guy's perfect. This ancient card has 230 HP just like the other, and it features the attack Kaiser Tackle, which hits for 280 damage. And that's enough to take out everything from V-Stars on down. It does have the drawback of hitting itself for 60 damage, but I think that's totally worth it in exchange for the straight up 280 damage. The sneaky part of this card, which has been illustrated a few times while playing, is that your opponent doesn't always read everything, or process it at least, and that's Koraidon's first attack, Retribution Strike, which has basically just been outrage on a slew of cards before this, so they just gave us a wordier version of that. But it can produce decent damage if you are hit and not knocked out. The next addition is Hisuian Arcanine V, which gives you a solid fighting counter to cover lightning decks, and gives you a V, so now you can include 4 Seal Stone. And because there's now a useful tool, I added an Arven to go with the 4 Irida, which just makes it even easier to get that second turn Garchomp. The last thing that surely stands out on this list is the Drillbur. He brings the ability Dig, 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 which lets you get 3 basic fighting energies into the discard pile when you play him from your hand. You can't get using with Nest Ball or with the Poffin. After looking at him and deciding to include him, my curiosity led me to the obvious question of, are there any decent Excadrill to go with him? Because if I'm playing Drillbur, might as well include his evolution, and a quick search answered that question. The Temporal Forces Excadrill has Wild Tackle, which hits for 180 damage, and that's enough to wipe out anything that's weak to fighting, giving you another threat that your opponent has to deal with. And as I've already said, Garchomp is all about bringing multiple threats to the game all at once, and making your opponent choose. You look over the rest of the list and see that I changed the counts of a few cards, but those should be pretty self-explanatory. let's move on and watch this one in action. So this match I got paired up against an Iron Hands, Iron Crown EX deck. See that a lot online right now. I understand why. It's a very good, very simple deck to play, but it's effective and aggressive. Got a decent start. Got the B-Barrel in my hand. On their turn, they had a pretty mediocre start. They just got 2 energies on Iron Hands with the electric generators. They passed back to me. I got a great top draw, got a rare candy for my Garchomp. Go and evolve the B-Barrel, get a full hand refresh off of him. I didn't get that fighting energy that I kind of wanted for Garchomp, so I'm going to go ahead and play Poffin. Just get one more Gibble down. Then we're going to play Irida, see if we can get Greninja, but Greninja looks like it's prized, so we just get Garchomp or Candy. Going to attach the Fire Energy to Koraidon and hit for the massive 20 damage, but that's pretty important 20 damage if you look at Mew's HP there. They INO my hand away. They get 2 Iron Crown down, but miss that that 4th energy on him. And this is where you don't know if they don't realize what Koraidon's first attack does or what. They hit me for 220, just barely missing me, but charging up my Outrage attack. So I'm going to use Arbin. I'm going to go ahead and get Ultra Ball, and for Seal Stone, I want to get my Hisuian Arcanine V in play. Don't need any more Gibble, don't need more Poffin, so it's nice just to get those thinned out. The Arcanine will give me a place to attach this Seal Stone. That way I've got it. Got it as an option whenever you want to. We'll go ahead and see what we get off of B-Barrel. Let's get some more energy. And they kind of gave me a gift there, so I can just Retribution Strike for 240 and take a knockout. Don't have to try to figure out how to get out of that kind of awkward situation. As you can see, they get a little bit more setup. They get another generator, just get 1 energy off that. Go and get the boost and the free retreat on Miraidon. Get a few more cards back in their hand with Mew. And hit another generator and get 2 more energies. So I kind of dodged a bullet there again. They did not get enough to amp you very much and take 3 prizes off this Koraidon. So they will just use Miraidon, knock him out, take those 2. And kind of a curious play, they attach to the Iron Crown. It does have a sniping ability, just 50-2. There's not really any targets that I have that seems beneficial for, but that's the play they made. I do get my handy dandy little Drillbur out. We're going to go ahead and play him down and get the 3 fighting energy into the discard pile. So I've got plenty in there now. Then we'll Irida and get a Garchomp. And we'll go ahead and get this catcher. Like I said, we've got 20 damage on Mew, so he's a nice little target sitting there for us. We'll evolve to the Garchomp on the bench and then attach there, because you do have to switch on the Prime Catcher. So we'll play Prime Catcher and grab that Mew. Send up the other Garchomp. We've got probably a little bit too much energy in the discard pile, and I want to get that Koraidon back as an option too, so we'll go ahead and play the Super Rod. Gets my hand thinned down enough. Use B-Barrel, get a couple more cards, and then we will Hydro Lander for 160. Get the knockout there. I'm going to spread this energy a little bit, but I do want to get the Drillbur as an option. So I'm going to get 2 there. If we get Excadrill, we can just attach an energy and attack with him. You see we're in a position now to take the last 2 prize cards. They get another Iron Crown down attached to the Iron Hands and hit me for a massive amount, 400, because I'm weak to lightning with all those boosts. I guess it was an even 200 times 2. And they get 3 prizes off that, but again, Garchomp is all about having multiple threats, and I've got them all as an option here. Top draw that Excadrill, and I cannot resist using it. So we're going to attach there instead of just moving all the energy up to Arcanine, which is the easiest play to do. We'll switch up. Whenever you got Excadrill in play, you gotta let him eat. He hits for 180 times 2, 360, and that's the last 2. So even with the lightning weakness there, you see the other options kind of balance it out. You just don't want to ride too heavily on the Garchomp in that match. So I tape an excessive amount of footage on TCG Live, most of which I never use, but I've had some really fun matches with this version of Garchomp. One thing to point out, and playing a lot against Arceus and Giratina V-Star, is that you can take out either V-Star with Kaiser Tackle, but that self-damage that Kaiser Tackle does, 60 damage to yourself, takes you down from 230 HP to 170, and unfortunately that does put you in range of Arceus's Trinity Nova attack, which is usually hitting for 180. But that is still overall a very favorable matchup. But yeah, I don't want to bog you guys down with footage of just game after game. You'll learn more by playing around with these decks than just watching me talk about it. So experiment with some of the other options and see where it takes you. If you will, take a minute to like and subscribe if you enjoy what you're seeing. Be not afraid. Later.